Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm Anthony Marcon.
And I'm Stacy Frankenstein Marcon.
We serve together as married volunteers in Uganda. One of the stories that kind of sticks out from being a part of serving together is how the school had an annual general meeting, and as part of it, I didn't really understand the full expectations of what was going to take place at this meeting. And I show up at the morning and see that all of my teachers are dressed very nice in suits. And I realize, oh, this is going to be a very big deal and it's very important. So I call Stacy at home real quick and say, can you pull out my suit? It probably needs to be ironed, but I'm going to come home in a little bit and change so I look more presentable for the school. Mm-hmm. And little did I know that right after I made that phone call, the power would go out.
Yep, so I'm on the phone with Tony. It's not a problem. Boom, power goes out, and I don't know what to do. So I go to our neighbors next door, and they have a charcoal iron, and it's this nearly broken, falling apart charcoal iron, and I have to light some charcoal, and so I'm working with my neighbors and then swinging the charcoal iron back and forth so that the coals light. Then I'm afraid of burning his linen suit, and so I iron it, but I'm very careful, and so it's not really ironed very well. And so we walk outside, and our neighbors are around, and I tell all the ladies, "Oh, Anthony looks so great. He's so handsome." And they're like, "Oh, he looks so great. You are correct." And then the moment Tony is out of view, my best friend just goes, "Oh, madame, do you know how to iron? Let me help you. I will teach you how to iron." And I'm just mortified, but my neighbors thought it was hilarious that I, as a wife, could not iron, and so they were going to help me out.
The story that I think about when I reminisce about Uganda was how I learned about the history of the Ateso people that I was living with. For them, everybody sits around a pot of ajan, which is a local millet beer, and you drink it from a pot that sits on the ground through 3-foot-long straws that come up to your mouth, and it's a communal experience where you're just sitting around the pot and sharing stories. But through those interactions, mostly with teachers at my school, I learned about the history of the tribe. I learned about how they had migrated from Sudan down through the northern part of Uganda into the eastern area, about the conflict that they had with their neighbors, the struggles that they had with the government, about how they had some prominence in the country and kind of lost it, but still hearing about this optimism and this real strong identity that they had as a tribal group. And I really valued those nights I was sitting just under the stars in the dark, sitting around a pot with some of my closest friends.
When I think about my time in the Peace Corps, I can't help but think about all the wonderful relationships that I had with my neighbors and with my friends and with my students. And I had the very unique experience of being a computer teacher, and no one wanted to leave my classroom. Students in America, they just want to, they want to get out of the classroom. But in Uganda, students would look me in the eye and say, "No, I haven't had computer class yet. I need to stay in here." And I'm like, "No, you have to let other people in." And so it was just wonderful to have that moment where I could see the desire to learn and be a part of that. So I loved it.
My name is Doane Perry, D-O-A-N-E, Perry, P-E-R-Y, and I was in Uganda after training at Columbia Teachers College in '66, the fall. We went to Uganda, and I was there in Sabay, '67, and then I transferred to Kampala, to old Kampala's senior secondary school, the Indian school, in '68. And I stayed on for another semester working for the Uganda government. I have co-founded Friends of Uganda 20 years ago, and we are active. We've sent books to Uganda, and now we share information about Uganda with people in the United States, and we help new volunteers get oriented and help recruit. And so I'm very active in Uganda, but I've never been back.
My name's Ellen Jacobs, and I was in Uganda in 1992 to 1994. I worked in natural resources and ecotourism in the Ruwenzori Mountains. But, you know, I worked with the women in my community, and we built a little restaurant, which when I went back 10 years later, the restaurant was still there. And they were still using mint instead of oregano for their spaghetti sauce. I could never convince them that mint, even though it is green also, tasted different than oregano.
Now, how is it going back 10 years later? Was it similar, different? Were some people still around that you knew?
Well, the big thing, you know, of course, is the little scooters, you know, before, because when I went, you know, I had first been right after the war in 1985, 1986, there was no traffic at all. And then when I went in the Peace Corps in 1992, there was traffic, but then in 2005, all the little motor scooters everywhere. And my village, it hadn't really changed that much. My house I didn't really recognize, but you know, they had just changed it some. The restaurant that I started had moved up the hill, and they had built a young man that I had worked with when he was 15. We still keep in touch. And he built a little lodge there. You know, he was inspired by me, so that was really touching that he has told me that he does what he does now because of me. And I was honored to name his daughter a few years ago. And he helped organize a tour that I led to, you know, folks there. And, you know, some of my same friends were still there that I saw. And, yeah, things really hadn't changed that much.
Neat.
Yeah.
How do you keep in touch? By email?
Yep, by email. We tried Skyping just last week, and it just didn't connect. I don't know, you know what happened, but someone told me that maybe he needs to put me in as a contact, so we'll try that again. But yeah, we email regularly. And another friend, you know, the sad thing was this one friend that I kind of took under my wings, he got too dependent on, you know, what I gave him, and I guess he became homeless, and, you know, he's had a terrible life, which has really made me feel bad that he couldn't be on his own. And I tried my hardest to train, you know, give him training and what he wanted, but, you know, he just wanted those handouts and just never got them, and he would beg me to bring him here, and of course I couldn't.
So my name is Holly Bryant, and I served in Uganda in 2008 until 2010, and I was stationed in Nkokronjiro, which is near Mukono. It was a particularly rainy week, and the road from Nkokronjiro to Mukono was only paved as far as you could see. If you were standing in Mukono, it was only paved until the eye ended, and then it was all dirt. And it had been a rainy week, and so where it was usually a dirt road was now a mud road. And the taxis didn't seem to mind. They just carried on as if everything was fine. And when the paved road ended and we transitioned into this dirt path, we came to a stop because we were stuck in the mud, and there was a line of taxis that were also stuck in the mud. Nobody was getting through at all. So we just sat there for a long time. Nobody did anything. And finally the men got out of the taxi and helped push the taxi, and it wasn't working. So then the women got out of the taxi, me included, and we tried to push the taxi so that we could then move on our way. And with everybody in the taxi, so that was probably 16 people, we got the taxi to go, and we made it as far as we could, and then we had to push again, and we made it even farther. So we did make it home, but it was we were covered in mud.
Okay, great.